In Genesis, this is the very beginning of the Bible. In Genesis chapter 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. This is a very important point. The earth was formless. That means that it doesn't have form. It doesn't have structure. There's no way to understand it. You couldn't understand it. You couldn't perceive it. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So basically, there was the nothingness or the formlessness. That was what this world was at the time. In fact, we shouldn't even call it a world, because that's not what it was. It was formlessness, it was nothingness, it was emptiness. But most importantly, there was a presence of the Spirit of God. So in chapter 2, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. It'd be interesting to know why God thought it was necessary to put light in place first. And God saw that the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening, and there was morning. I'd like you to understand the process of order being injected into what was chaos before. Now, if indeed human beings were created in the likeness and image of God, and God is an excellent being, it must be quickly evident that for a human being to be the best that the human being can be, that human being must follow the God methodology. And the God methodology, as we see in the scriptures, is that you put structure into place first, and the structure will enable your content. Now, if we follow Genesis further down, we will see that God was involved in the creation of a lot of many other things, including even the animals and the plants and the birds and everything else. These are the things that when man were created, he will be asked to control. For example, man was going to need food when he came into the world. Don't forget, man was the crowning of all of God's creation. He's the special being. In fact, it seems that the world itself was about human beings. It's about human beings' existence. So everything else that God created, He entrusted to human beings. If at any point human beings came here when there was no water, you and I both know they wouldn't last long. If a human being came here and there was no food to eat, they wouldn't last long. If they couldn't see and the chaos that the world was before creation actually took place, then human beings wouldn't be able to exist. It's the same thing that your body will slump into a bag of flesh without your structure. These things that God puts in place, if a human being, if a nation was building structures to enable its citizens to do things, we would call it infrastructure, i.e. your roads, your internet access, your telephone systems, and everything else. These are structures that are supposed to enable people to be able to do things. And this is the exact thing that God did at the beginning of creation. He put structure in place before He put the content in. All the things that human beings are going to need, the air you're going to breathe, everything else He put in place before you. Now, in replicating that, human beings began to understand that they need to put structure in place before they try to do other things. This idea of structure is so fundamentally important to any maximization of existence or any kind of performance. Now, without it, no possible high performance is possible. And we have seen this very clearly in Scripture. Now, when God had created man and finally placed him in the Garden of Eden, where all the structures he needed was in place, He charged man to exist and to maximize this existence. Somewhere along the line, when man didn't follow this order that God has preordained for him to follow, things fell into chaos. Sin came into the world. And I'd like for you to understand sin as in the sense of is a simple disobedience of God. That's what sin is. Okay, so every time you didn't follow the God way or the God pattern, which really is for your own benefits, for the maximization of your existence, you're breaking the rule. And these rules are the very things that actually keep you in existence. So the more you're off the mark, the less likely you are to maximize your existence.